Good afternoon, all. In this webinar, we specifically are targeting the compliances across the globe, which talks about how to safeguard the infrastructure with the various IAM techniques, or better to say converged IAM, which includes PAM as well. So whether it's Southeast Asia, India, EU region, UK region, Australia, what are the different compliances and how dynamically you can safeguard your infrastructure with the available solutions. So what we'll be going to do in this webinar is we'll be talking about more about the compliance, because there are numerous cyber attacks happening every day, and there is always a challenge to safeguard our infrastructure as per the evaluation of the cyber attack. And we should also talk about what are different use cases across the industry that we are every day getting a request from and how we are addressing those. How in this era a tailored IAM and PAM approach can solve the customer's pain point. How the generic IAM and PAM features are being not used in the current scenario. So all these things we'll be talking in the webinar. So this 40 to 45 minutes of webinar will give you an insight about what are the best way possible to safeguard your institution, your organization against evolving attacks with this converged IAM concept. We'll having a poll in between. There is also a chat window open. You can always put the question and answers, and our technical team will definitely assist in answering those. So let's start the webinar. We'll talk about IAM, we talk about PAM, we'll talk about different compliances. We'll also talk about how the customized solution in today's world can solve the customer's pain point more effectively as giving them a very generalized solution. So let's head for the webinar. So before starting that, there are a few things which as a miniOrange we are doing. So I will just highlight in 5 minutes. We have 25,000 plus customers globally, which includes customers like Intel, NASA, Bank of America, Walt Disney, KPMG, Vodafone. You can easily go to miniorange.com/customers and you can easily find that most of the brands, the big brand, the SMBs, even the startups are associated with us, because from last 13 odd years, day in and day out, we are solving the problem or the challenges associated with the identity and access management space. As NIST is regulated, the most chaotic place to be in is if you are not solving the identity crisis, where your identities are stored, how your identities are getting authenticated, how your databases are protected. So these are the basic problems. On top of that, you can have any kind of superficial layers, but if you are not solving the basic problem, that's an issue. And that we are doing day in and day out from last 13 odd years. And because of that, we are into 100 plus odd countries. We are having a catalog of around 6,000 applications, through which you can enable SSO and MFA. Just clicking on next button, and it will be seamless integrations. And because of this reason, cybersecurity international rating agencies like G2, Capterra, even Gartner has awarded a miniOrange a best ROI vendor. Gartner last year, 2024, and also in 2025, awarded miniOrange as a strong performer. And we are fighting against all these Western companies. And we are the only bootstrap company which exists in this marketplace or which exists in this quadrant. It's a very proud moment for us. Now, generally, customer asks us, or there might be a doubt, there might be a question that how the bootstrap company can make the experience better. The answer is very much simple, because if you see the companies which are led by the venture capitalist, their entire tier 1, tier 2 supports engineer goes in and out with a period of 3 years, 5 years, 2 years, 6 months. But the person who has deployed, or for example, in 2017, is still the person who is still supporting that in case of a bootstrap company, because we feel we are all stakeholders. And that's the reason that this major, if you go to miniorange.com/customers, you'll find many of the brands, big brands, whether they are born in US, whether they are born in Europe, are preferring miniOrange because of this ownership, because of having an capacity to go an extra mile for the customers, to give an customized solution. And that has been, our USP, that has been in our DNA. You see a lot of government enterprise customers giving us the feedback, and we are continuously improving on that part. As mentioned, we have customers like Warner Bros, HP, Goldman Sachs, Bosch, NASA, Airbus. We have customers who are consuming us for 7 to 8 million user licenses per month. We have customers who are consuming us for 50 admin users for a PAM, or 200 admin users, or 200 users, employee users for VPN MFA. So we have customers across the globe. We have customers in UK, Australia, Europe, and we have good story to tell. So what basically you need in a market is the solution. The first thing is solution should work. The second thing is how many brands are associated with you. And the third important point is cost effectiveness, which all the boxes are ticked by miniOrange. And on top of that, as I mentioned, the biggest USP what we are having is basically a customized solution. Can you offer a solution which is tailored according to the customer's infrastructure, right? So these are our, few of the customers which I highlighted in the last slide. Let's talk about the compliances. I am into cybersecurity field from last 18 odd years, and I have not seen a single compliance across. I have been fortunately a part of a big organizations in US, in Europe. I have not seen a single compliance which talks about security and which is not highlighting the importance of identity and access management, which doesn't highlight the importance of privilege access management, which doesn't stress on the multi-factor authentication, the need for multi-factor authentication. Every year we are growing, and there are always regulations. GDPR, FIPS. In India, we talk about DPDP Act, PCI compliance, HIPAA, which is the healthcare, DORA compliance, NIST, CERTIN. This all compliances across the globe talks in a single language. Whether this particular, and if you see all these compliances, in some compliances, IAM, PAM, and MFA, which is basically a subset of IAM, is mandatory. In some compliance, you need PAN. So these are the three building blocks for any organization to secure their databases, to secure their identities, to secure how the applications are being accessed. And I guess when the organization is growing, you require three modules over a period of time. And that's why, if I remember 2020 or 21, Gartner has launched a concept called as converged IAM, which is basically a combination of IAM and PAM. And nowadays, because of the compliance, we get a lot of requests of PAM, of admin users. And also recently, we are getting a request from the client, PAM for non-admins user. So this is what basically all the compliance we talk about. And you also know that when you don't comply to the compliance, forget about the penalties which this auditing bodies issued, but there are also heavy penalty when it comes to the unsecured infrastructure, when it comes to the security which are having multiple loopholes, right? So by putting this building blocks of IAM, PAM, and MFA, it sounds like a layered approach where you stop attacks, whether it's internal attack, whether it's external attack, whether it's attack generated from some of the devices. It can be stopped, it can be monitored, it can be flagged, and similarly, it can be prevented as well. So according to my experience, basic building block in any of the organizations should be perfectly cemented, and that is possible when your identities are properly stored, when authentication and authorization is happening properly, when your databases are protected, when your systems, servers, critical infrastructures is properly authorized with the governed entities. So talking about the compliance and its relationship, this is the broader portfolio. I think every organization will be having in times to time based on their needs. If you are a consumer facing, if you are B2C, if you are consumer facing application, then you should know what kind of consumers are logged in into your system. You should know the analytics around it. You should know the basically is where are these consumers coming from which region. So all this comes under the customer identity and access management. Then there is employee identity and access management, which includes single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, user lifecycle management, adaptive authentication, CASB, DLP, MDM, and all these solutions must be available in both the flavors, which is on-premise and the cloud. miniOrange is proud to say that we are having 5,000 plus customers who are into the on-premise solution because they required some kind of tailor-made solution according to the challenges what they are facing. And our solution is perfectly an on-premise solution. And miniOrange also exists on these marketplaces, which is mentioned on the right side of this window. Atlassian, which you know, basically used for safeguarding, Jira, Bitbucket, Confluence, WordPress community, which we are a driving force behind the open source communication. We do have a single sign-on and multi-factor authentication plugins for the same. It's Drupal, Shopify, Magento, Outlook, Oracle. As I mentioned in the starting, from last 12 odd years, we are doing the job of securing those identities. Day in and day out, the customer sends us the challenges and we try to solve it with our offered solution. Okay, so let's go the industry wise. As you know that telecom and IT organizations, these are the two sectors which are highly regulated when it comes to the security. There are a lot of identities. There are consumer identities. There are employees. There are third-party vendors. And these environments are completely distributed. I remember various use cases that we have solved where there are not only the employees, but there are also third-party vendors. There are temporary employees who are accessing some specific application. And how do you manage those identities? How you temporarily give accesses to the third-party vendors or give restricted access to specific applications, and the moment their contract gets over, how they can be deprovisioned without disrupting this part. So this we do that. And on top of that, there is always a threat which is looming over these systems, which is phishing attack. There are ransomware. There are evolving cybersecurity attacks to protect the sensitive data. A disgruntled employee who is in notice period can do the shift control delete to your code, which is stored in the EC2 instance of AWS. How you protect those? A disgruntled employee trying to explore the region, which basically he or she should not be a part of it. How you manage, how you flag those users. How you ensure that the admins who are having an extra privileges and they're having access to company's critical information, how you ensure that these admins are doing the right thing, because admins or the privilege accounts are the one of the most strong pillar in IT or telecom ecosystem. So all these use cases, which talks about vendors, which talks about third-party employees, which talks about contractual employees, which talk about privilege accounts. These are the use cases that we are solving every day. I remember the similar use case, we got it from one of the largest telecom provider in the Southeast Asian region, where they talk about thousands of employees where the work is given to them for the time being, and they're having an access to organization critical infrastructure for the period of 6 months. How you ensure that they are only accessing those applications, how you ensure that once their contract is over, how they can be deprovisioned, how you ensure that their authority, their entry point and their exit points are secured. So all these questions can be solved with some of the modules of identity and access management, which includes PAM, which includes MFA, which includes adaptive authentication. Another area which is much more highly regulated in every part of the world, which is finance and banking, right? You take the compliance and whether it's NBFCs, whether it's bank, whether it's any financial organization, the user management is very much critical, and it becomes chaotic the moment it leads to the users are decentralized. The users are not stored in the single databases. And most of these organizations, when it finance and banking, they are having multiple applications, the applications which are developed by in-house engineering team, the applications which is developed by third party, the applications like legacy applications, which are header-based authentication. And all these applications types which I have mentioned doesn't comply to SSO protocol, doesn't comply to SAML, OAuth, OIDC, JWT, which basically used for single sign-on multi-factor authentication. Now, in this kind of scenario, do you have a vendor which gives you the custom connectors for legacy system? Do you have a vendor which gives you connectors for the application which is developed by in-house team? Do you have a vendor who is having capability to sync with any of the application which gives you APIs? So all these boxes are very much important when it comes to the finance and banking sector, because it's highly regulated sectors. miniOrange is having capability to do that. miniOrange is one amongst the potential vendor in the market who is having capability to deploy an extra layer of MFA or entire infrastructure. And I think most of the customers of miniOrange facing a problem before they came to miniOrange. They tried various vendors, and most of the customers are looking for a customized solution. Though the banking applications remain same, but it varies from region to region. And 80% of the finance and banking clients of miniOrange are having custom applications. You cannot actually single out a single application and say that, hey, this is not the part of this is not the part of a secure system you are building because this is not compatible with protocol like SAML or OAuth, or this is legacy application. That cannot happen. So we have many finance and banking organizations who are part of a miniOrange portfolio, and we are managing their users. We are ensuring how the provisioning and deprovisioning take place. We are also ensuring right controls. We are also ensuring right authorization points. Another sector, which is again a diverse, which is again a challenging, which is manufacturing. We have bring your own devices policies. We have regulations. We have different standards that's to match. We have third-party vendors, and manages these access levels and their life cycle is always a challenging, because when it comes to the manufacturing, the contractors are, they don't have a lifetime. They come and go. They come and go for a period of 3 years. They come and go for a period of 6 months. They come and go for a period of 15 days. So how you ensure that these third-party contractors or the supply chain mechanism elements are not playing with your sensitive data, and they follow the compliance with respect to the industry regulations. So this is also one of the challenging field what we have. These are the few of the case studies that we have solved in US, in UK, in India, in Southeast Asia region. One of the organizations, national crime agencies, they are having a typical problem of protecting their VPN with the MFA. We deploy truly 100% on-premise solution to protect their infrastructure. Flipkart, I think everyone knows in and out. Those who are a part of the Southeast Asian region, they're having legacy applications. They have a different network devices, routers, switches, firewalls, which understand TACX and TACX plus protocol. So miniOrange is only the vendor who can comply with different protocol and can add an extra layer of MFA or entire infrastructure. We have PIF, which is, I think, in the Saudi Arabia, it is the largest financial investment fund. We have again added an extra layer of MFA or applications or the different resources they are asking. ADNOC, everyone knows about the ADNOC because this is the largest oil company from UAE region. We have given them a tailor-made solution to protect their legacies and internal applications. So that speaks volume about what we are capable of delivering, deploying, and more important to that is how we are addressing the problem. Are we addressing the problem with the generalized solution, or are we on the path to go an extra mile for our customers where we give them a customized solution? 20 seconds of polls. If you are interested, there is a poll which is live, which is coming on your screen. Just answer that. will be able to address those. If you have any questions, I request all of you guys just to put all those questions in the chat window, and our technical team would able to answer. Moving forward, how any organization, so I will not talk with respect to the miniOrange, but in the general scenario, how we can actually manage the problem of identities. Now, every organization, their identities are stored in Active Directory, in Oracle databases, local users, MySQL database, or any of the databases. Any of the databases which supports OIDC, which supports any of the protocol. Does your vendor's platform is having capability to sync with those databases and have a seamless integrations into multiple applications, right? So sometimes we call IDP initiated flow, and also your platform should have a capability where it's called broker flow, where the source of authentication is something else, and your vendor, let's say miniOrange, can able to act as a broker, and acting on the secured source, it can able to seamlessly access into the do a single sign-on and multi-factor authentication into the different applications, right? As mentioned, the extension of identity and access management is privilege access management. And privilege access management talks about the privilege account, talks about, see, it's very difficult to understand who is RDPing into your server, who is accessing into the servers. With the help of tools like AnyDesk, anyone can access my resources, anyone can edit my resources. So it's very difficult to govern those elements who are accessing companies' critical infrastructure or databases, servers, web applications, AWS instances. So privilege access management governs that. And the most problematic statement nowadays is the password management. Do we have password vaults, which ensures that the passwords of those privilege accounts are managed properly? They are rotated, they are randomized. Do we have just enough access? Do we have capability to stop the lateral movement? When I say lateral movement, it means that an admin, I am compromised. Now, does your system have capability to stop that, admin to access for the resources, because your system has identified that as a red flag? So that is called stopping the lateral movement. And all these mechanisms are there in privilege access management. So that's why, whether it's banking, whether it's telecom, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's IT industry, there are always admins who are having in control the different companies' infrastructure. They are the people who give accesses to the employees, and how you manage all those admins with the extra privileges with the PAM solution. Then we have a consumer identity and access management. Everyone logins into Amazon, right? Amazon is having an entire database of around, I guess, 5 to 10 or more than 500 million users who are accessing the Amazon website. Now, Amazon critically knows that what kind of products are being sold in what region, what kind of products are being, popular in which region, which age group is targeting what kind of products. So all these data analytics tools, all these identities, sign in with Google, sign in with Microsoft, sign in with Instagram, all this thing can come under the customer identity and access management or consumer identity and access management. And everyone understand how the single sign-on works, right? So basically, single sign-on, how it is a part of a security element, because if there are 20 applications, there will be 20 different credentials, there will be 20 different passwords, and most of the time, these passwords are same. The password I'm having 5 years back for my Microsoft account is the same password I'm having for my bank account, is the same password I'm having for my phone to unlock, and it can be easily brute force to get an access to specific accounts. So putting an SSO is very much important, because it gives you an authority, it gives you an security elements where you log into the right applications for which you are having an access. The USP of miniOrange is miniOrange can do single sign-on and multi-factor authentication, not only on the application which supports the protocol like SAML or JWT, OIDC, LDAP, but the applications which are developed by in-house team, the application which is developed by engineering team, the application which are legacy applications which are not compatible with any of the product, we do have connectors for the same. Nowadays, this term is there from last 20 odd years where the people wanted to move away from password. So miniOrange, every solution, whether it's VPN, putting MFA on VPN, or putting MFA on SSO, or putting MFA on Windows, miniOrange is having a passwordless solution where the authentication happens through any of the method, which is OTP or SMS, email, Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, and at any given point of time, the consumer or the employee don't have to enter the password. System processes, identifies the right users and give access to certain applications. Most popularly post-COVID era or during the COVID, we all have done the remote work. I think nowadays also there is 70% of population who is doing the remote work. How the remote population get access to the servers, the right servers, they connected to the VPN. And everyone knows that VPN are the most vulnerable connection if you don't deploy an MFA. That's why there were guidelines whenever you are accessing company's infrastructure remotely, sitting might be 500 miles away or from the different country. You should connect it to the company infrastructure through VPN. The first layer you should have is MFA on top of the VPN. There are numerous ways to protect those environments. One of the basic work that I think which fits into all the compliances that we talked about is basically multi-factor authentication on top of VPN, multi-factor authentication on top of Windows Server, Linux, and so forth and so on. So that's what the slide talks about. As I mentioned, miniOrange is one amongst the potential vendor in the market who can do MFA on top of Windows, Linux, RDP, Mac machines. miniOrange can protect your VPN, network devices, routers, switches, and firewalls. This many capabilities. So basically, miniOrange adds an extra layer of infrastructure or entire infrastructure, right? And whether they support Radius, whether they support TechX, whether they support TechX Plus. Generally, you require a combination of 2 to 3 potential vendors to achieve this milestone of having an extra layer of MFA or entire infrastructure. miniOrange does it single-handedly, right? So that capability is what we are having. So we have covered sectors, we have covered single sign-on, we have covered multi-factor authentication. We talked about the passwordless authentication, which is very much part of an current IT systems. A 10-second of call, and then we dive into a very important section where we talk about the granularities, where we talk about how to restrict the employee movement laterally, vertically, how to ensure that the right people have a right access to a databases. Just 20 seconds of break and we'll move towards it. Any questions? If you have, you should put in the chat window, and I think miniOrange technical team would be able to answer those. Moving forward, when we talk about the business enterprises, when we talk about the companies having VPN, when we talk about the companies having different IP addresses, when we talk about companies operate 24/7, the different locations, when we talk about the employees which are onboarded remotely, when we talk about a compliance where the company is having, company-owned devices and also the bring your own devices. This adds some complexity because the company accessing the resources, the employee accessing the resources from the remote place, the employee accessing the resources from a different environment, from his or her laptop, from the company-owned laptop. It's crucial to ensure that they get an access to right application, they get access to right servers, and all these entries, all these entry points are get secured. So this is possible when you have solutions like adaptive authentication, when you have solutions like risk-based authentication, where the employer wants to restrict the employees not only based on the user credential, but also with respect to time, with respect to IP, with respect to location and device. So miniOrange does that with the single sign-on. We can bind the user from specific IPs. We can bind the user to specific location, time, and device. So various use cases we get generally from the clients, which states that I want specific application to get opened from specific device and also by a specific person. So we can bind the user to specific device and to specific application. Let's say that there is Office 365 application which should get open only from the company owned device. That too with the MAC ID of 00005 and that too from an employee code of 572. We can do that. So a lot of granularities we can apply through this adaptive based authentication. And the major problems generally with the big enterprises is onboarding and offboarding of employees, giving an access to an employee to certain set of application. And because, for example, if there is new employee joins the company, what is the first thing he should do? He should report to his admin. He should report to his manager. Manager should give him or her an access to certain set of applications. And over the period of time, when this employee gets promoted to a different hierarchy, the penetration of this employee in the system, accessing different applications, is extended. And every time a manual intervention creates a door for what you can say basically suspicious activity, create a door for unauthorized access to specific application, and it is not the ideal way of managing the employees. It should be completely an automated process. And because of this, there exists a lot of threats, vulnerabilities, security risk from the environment. There might be a compliance challenges, and that's why miniOrange is having a user provisioning and deprovisioning system, which is basically miniOrange can sync with any of the HRMS or CRMS system. miniOrange can stop that manual work from an applications or from Active Directory where the user's identities are stored and they are being provisioned into certain applications. You would have also seen an example where the employee left the organization, but the employee is still having access to company's critical infrastructure. And this is there because it's a manual work. miniOrange can sync with any of the HRMS, CRMS systems or Active Directory, whether they have APIs, whether they are compliant with scheme. Even if they are legacy systems, they must be having a database. Even though they don't have API, even though they don't have scheme provisioning, miniOrange is having a database connector which sits on the top of database and can do the provisioning of that specific user to certain application based on the roles and rules defined in the miniOrange, which we call role-based access. So entire automation of user lifecycle management, which is a superset of identity and access management, can be governed through this kind of solution. And definitely when we talk about the privilege access management, we talk about the privilege account, we talk about the access rights these privilege accounts are having, we talk about the auditing framework, we talk about how to monitor those logs, how to monitor those admins, and the answer is PAM. I will not go much detail into the PAM, but I will tell you we are one amongst the potential vendor in the market where we give the customized PAM solution to our customers. We give the tailor-made PAM solution. Our PAM solution is very lightweight because we don't deploy agent. We act as a jump server. And I understand PAM is very chaotic place because there are many vendors in the market which deploys an agent, which brings an PAM with 70 odd features. But the other side is who needs 70 odd features. Even I had seen the enterprise customers who needs hardly 20 features of PAM. They required basic dashboard where they wanted to see which application is accessed by which of the privileged users, which databases, how many databases are there, how they are being accessed, who is RDPing into the server, who is associated into the server, are there password of those privileged accounts are being stored properly, are being stored in the password vault, they are being protected, they are being randomly generated, they are being automated. Is there a recording feature where you manage those logs, where you manage this suspicious activity, where you have a least privilege accesses? So then they don't require 40 odd features. So miniOrange is having a regulatory PAM where they are having a solution called as pay-as-you-go model. We have a layered PAM, which no one has. We have a lightweight PAM. We have basic PAM, which includes 5-7 odd features, which is required for the compliance. And your PAM cost become 1/5 of what you're already paying into the market. So it's a layered PAM. It's a PAM which suffice your compliance. It's a PAM where you can cherry pick the features and put it into your buckets and satisfy the problem statement, the challenges. And whenever in the future you need some specific features, you have to again pick those features. We'll enable it for you on the pro rata basis. You can use those features. So we have a PAM which don't deploy any agent. We have a PAM which is compliant to most of the regulations. We have a PAM which is a lightweight PAM. We have a PAM which gives a customized solution, which is a customized PAM. And on top of that, we have a pay-as-you-go model, where based on the features requirement, you should have the PAM in place. The most important part is the complexities involved in the PAM. This is the PAM dashboard, you see how user-friendly the dashboard is. You can find each and every parameter with a clarity, right? You don't need miniOrange guys to solve, L1, L2 queries. If your admin is bit technical, he could able to deploy the PAM for any of the organization needs. So if any of you wanted to have a, hands-on on this PAM dashboard, which is very seamless, user-friendly, we don't create any of the mechanism where the dependency lies on us. We wanted to empower the IT admin team so that they can do the deployment, they can do the basic troubleshooting. If needed, they can deploy the PAM in their organizations. So this is a very seamless dashboard our team has made by accepting the feedback from various stakeholders. A short poll to suffice. I request all of you guys, we are just towards the end of a webinar where I will talk about more about the compliance and how the IAM, CASB, MFA, DLP, MDM solution. So very larger portfolio miniOrange is having, and you can simply cherry pick these components and ensure that these components suffice with your challenges. Make sure that you require the right component for the right problem statement. You require only MFA, you require only single sign-on, you require only adaptive authentication. All these components are independently deployed. It's not the case that's what I mentioned, that we are one amongst the potential vendor who can deploy this component independently, or who can customize this component according to the client infrastructure and can solve the pain point. So whether it's user lifecycle management, which consumer identity and access management, SSO, MFA, adaptive authentication, these are the places, these are the modules which make overall compliance, overall the regulatory compliance across the globe. What we are capable of deploying, delivering as a miniOrange is we do the on-premise deployment, a truly on-premise. We have a multi-tenant cloud, which is a SaaS. We do have option of hybrid, which is a private cloud. If you are having your own cloud, we can deploy our IDPs. We have unique integrations with the legacy applications. We have unique integration with the in-house applications. We have unique integration with respect to the application which is developed by your in-house team. As mentioned, our solution is much flexible. Our solution is much customized. And on top of that, it is 100% cost effective. If you see our recent G2 and Capterra report, which are cybersecurity rating agencies, from last 5 years, miniOrange has been awarded the best ROI vendor. We have a hotline. We don't have a system where you create a ticket goes to the closest center, and that closest center, a customer support center, gives you an access to certain support group. We have the people serving across 5 time zones 24/7. So we have people working in the US, North America, and South America time zone. We have people in the Southeast Asia. We have dedicated people working for the UK and EU. We have dedicated support people working for engineering, a complete engineering team of 700 odd people sitting in India and supporting all over the globe. With the customers, big customers like NASA, Intel, Vodafone, KPMG, so forth and so on. You can also get an access to our free trial version. Just type free trial miniOrange and you will find the first link, register on that. And that is a full-fledged free trial version that you can think of, deploying into your environment, try our hands-on stuff. If you need a support from any of the engineers, just drop us an email and we'll support you. We have tailored demo. We have specific demos. We are having differentiator amongst the different vendors in the market, which is publicly available. And we have full-fledged content library where anyone can access the resource and anyone can deploy any of the tool required. So that's quickly about us. That's quickly about what miniOrange can possibly do. That quickly about sums up about the different compliance across the globe and how it is important for an individual to access those, to meet with those compliance with the scalable and cost optimized or in the cost effective way of IAM and PAM. I hope you got the glimpse about how basically any of the vendor can satisfy the challenges with the cost effectiveness, with the proper tailor-made solution. And that's what miniOrange is capable of deploying and delivering. Okay, thank you all. Thank you for this patient listening and looking forward to working with you guys. And we will intimate you with the next webinar, which might be in months' time. I would like to thank all my miniOrange team, including Akshata, Sujal, Lokesh, who have assisted in this successful execution. And we'll reach out to every one of you. Looking forward. Thank you. Have a good day.